Welcome to the Burgundy Gold Knuckleheads podcast. As always, with a little bit bigger smile today, my main man Reggie. What's going on, Reg?
Ken, man, this is Triumphant Tuesday, aka Victory Monday, right?
Yes.
And we had a big win, man.
That was a very, very solid win. Absolutely.
That I saw somebody on Twitter say that Commander fans are celebrating like we won the war. But
I think that's a little extreme there, but
hey, but people celebrating, man. People are hyped for a week 3 Monday Night Football game. And you have to be a Commanders fan to fully understand that wasn't just a 38-33 win on a Monday Night Football in the middle of America in a city called Cincinnati, Ohio. It meant it was
Right.
bigger than just that. And
there's a lot of layers on that, yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. So I'm not going to try to explain that to anyone who's not a Commanders fan. If you're a Commanders fan, you understand why the excitement is there and why that game, that win in that moment on that stage with this coaching staff, that rookie quarterback, why all of that mattered, right?
Right.
So we're just going to roll with it and call it Triumphant Tuesday. And hell yeah, we got a win, man. We got a huge win.
I think we do need to talk about that just briefly, though. From a few things. One, it's not often the last few years that Washington has won 2 in a row, right?
Okay.
We won one game, the opening home game against the Giants, and then you go on the road to Cincinnati. Cincinnati's got a lot of tools, and not only winning the game, but the quarterback who you are hoping is the guy for that game, he was that guy, right? And we were wondering also, is the offense going to open up a little bit? And there were moments that they did, right? I don't have it here in front of me like I have the last couple weeks, but the amount of passes beyond 10 yards, I think in previous weeks was like 1 and 3, and we were at probably about 7 to 9 passes beyond 10 yards.
Okay.
So, and then you also got, the college offense put a whooping on them, right? For those that didn't know that their Cincinnati quarterback said it's just a college offense.
The cornerback.
And then another thing also was when Cincinnati got the ball first, and right off the bat, they went down, looked like they meant business today.
Well, hang on. Before we get into the specifics of the game, let's talk about your initial reaction, whether it was, I guess I would say after Terry scored that touchdown, right? Because it wasn't until first. Well, no, I'm talking about at the end of the game. I want to get your initial reaction after because once Terry scored that touchdown with less than 2 minutes to go in the game, it was just needed to be a defensive stop. And technically it didn't even matter then, because I think once we scored, we were up 2 scores with Cincinnati getting the ball back. And so what was your reaction after realizing we've come in here and upset the Cincinnati Bengals on Monday night on this stage and the way we played? What was your reaction?
I'll say we played better than what I thought we would. Not that whether we won or lost, we played, at least offensively, better than what I thought. I saw, is this the offense that we can have all season, right? Against the Giants, we moved the ball a lot, but we weren't scoring. I said before, we had 7 field goals against the Giants. If we had just converted 2 of those into touchdowns, 2 of the 7, still would have had 5 field goals. that would have been 30 points, right? And then last night, 38 points. So I was excited about everything. I was excited about the team. It was a team win, right? I'm sorry. Hold on. 52 players won that game, right? The only player that didn't was Tress Way, right? He's been stealing paychecks for 2 weeks now.
No, he's not
right?
stealing.
He's stealing paychecks.
He's not stealing.
Yeah.
He has a job, and he's not been called upon to do his job. That's not stealing.
Of course, that's tongue in cheek right there.
I know, but I'm just saying he's just not been called upon. I know you don't mean he's stealing his money,
but yeah,
I think guys stealing money would be guys that are getting paid and that are not performing.
Right.
You know, that was a guy stealing money. Tress just hadn't had an opportunity to be called upon, right?
Thankfully, right? In past years, we've made passing remarks that he's our MVP,
and he was. He was.
Yeah, he probably was a couple times for sure. But I was happy. I was like, man, I said, you know, I don't all of a sudden think that we're going to all of a sudden be this playoff team, not off of just this game, but it's like it's a game that can change things, right? It instills confidence in Jaden Daniels. It instills confidence around the players. It instills confidence in the coaches that they can call that kind of game, that they can go for it on fourth down and have confidence that the players are going to execute. And that's was kind of the bigger thing of their I'm not saying there was, but there may have been a switch that was turned in the trajectory of this team at the end of that game with that win.
I won't go that far, and I'm gonna tell you why. I've always been the kind of guy that if you do it, and if it's truly who you are or what you do, then you should be able to duplicate it.
Correct.
So we can't get up for that game on Monday night and go out and show the nation the kind of team we could be, and then we go to Arizona next week and lay an egg.
Correct.
Right? So if we go to Arizona, win or lose, and we play a hard-fought game, and boy, you look at this and go, man, I think we finally turned the corner. We just came up short in Arizona. Then I'm willing to go on the limb and say, okay, you know what? Then I think we've turned the corner. But if they go out there and lay an egg and they're still riding high off this Monday Night Football victory and they lay an egg in Arizona and just look terrible, then I have to ask myself, which team are we?
Right.
But that's for another day.
Sure.
My reaction after the game was full of excitement. It was like, so this is what it feels like to have a NFL team, a team that has a chance to win week in and week out. This is what it looks like to have a competent offense that can be creative, that can be sneaky, that can open up the playbook and give you something a little bit different other than just lining up and running routes, right? The little quote unquote razzle dazzle that we did during the game, right?
Right.
This is what it looks like to have a good quarterback who you feel confident that when it's fourth down, that can get you a first. When it's third down, we can throw for a first down. We can run for a first down. It was just all of the elements that the good teams have showed up for us in that game. And I was like, God, man, where's this been?
Right.
What, can we do this? Can this truly be what our team is going to be? Granted, we're not going to put up 38 points every week, but there are moments in the game. I wasn't worried about the kicker. I wasn't worried about, can we run the ball? Can we convert this third down, this fourth down conversion? It was like, I believe we're going to run down here and score. Right? It wasn't this, can we move the chains? It was a NFL style looking offense and a performance by the Commanders on a big stage, and it has everybody talking. And so after the game, man, I couldn't go to bed right away. I knew I needed to take my butt to bed because I got to get up and go to work But boy, man, it felt good, brother. It felt good, man. I ain't gonna
It
lie.
was.
I wanted to bottle that up.
Yeah, no, yeah. It's one of those things, and I don't. I'm primarily working from home these days, but it's like, man, it'd be nice to go into work tomorrow, right? It'd be nice to go in and talk about that game at work, and I imagine people came up to you that watched the game and go, man, they're saying nothing but positive things. Man, Jaden might be the guy, right? I had a couple different people reach out to me that aren't, I wouldn't say are truly football guys, but they watched the game and they were impressed with Washington and Jaden Daniels. So yeah, it was a good.
It was good.
It definitely was good.
It's good feel, man. Good feels, good vibes.
Well, and
So let's
with
get into
that,
the game.
I like to, one of the things that you and I like to do is we like to keep it real. If I have to find some negatives in the game, and I'm gonna go with two, and it's just concerns. It's a reality check of where we sit so far, and things we may have to overcome. We did a lot better on penalties overall this week, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I didn't say it at the bar last night, and I haven't had a conversation with you about this.
Uh-oh.
Bobby Wagner's lost a step. And there was a couple plays yesterday. I mean, obviously there was the one where he was basically sealing off the corner, and he just I don't know what he was doing. That did not look like a Pro Bowl linebacker, multi-time Pro Bowl linebacker. But there was a couple times yesterday that one was pointed out, but there's a couple times besides that I pointed out to people in the bar. I'm like, what was he doing? Where was he going? And then in week 1 or 2, now I'm sure he's an excellent leader. But we don't have the Bobby Wagner from 3 years ago. We've got today's Bobby Wagner. And then on top of that,
hang on before you go with the second thought. Can I defend Bobby?
Go ahead.
You know what? I'm gonna wait because I'm gonna give a little snapshot of something that I didn't like either. But go ahead. Go ahead. Your second point.
Well, I will say our defensive. I mean, our defensive tackles, which are supposed to be the best position on our defense. Man,
don't forget to add one of the highest paid duos in the league.
Yes, and sitting right behind them is Bobby Wagner, I will say, at middle linebacker. But where we went in the draft this year, the year before, basically, there may be a year gap in there, but you're talking Payne, Jonathan Allen, Mathis.
Yep.
And
Mathis and John Newton.
And then Newton, right? These are high first, second round picks that are clogging up the middle. And man, week 1, week 2, week 3, where's everybody running? Right up the middle. They were running between the tackles 90%, 80%, a high percentage. And when they pick up yards, it is right through the gut. And Washington, from a defensive perspective, and again, it's only 3 games, but they've given up the 4th most points in the NFL and the 4th most yards. So what does that make you? 28th ranked defense. And again, this is one of these things where I haven't the last 2 years, this year or last year, but everybody's like, oh, the defense is going to carry us till Jaden in the offense comes along. Well, Jaden in the offense is carrying this defense once again, just like Heineke did, just like Sam Howell did, just like whoever else. And we weren't happy with those offenses. So that tells you where the defense is. So the offense looks like from 2 weeks back to back, they got a rhythm to themselves. They got a system. They cleaned up some things from the Giants game to this game to turn some of those into touchdowns and start kind of stretching the field some. Uh, the defense needs to make those same adjustments. And look, I don't need them to be a top 5, top 7 defense, but get into the teens. Get into 14 to 18.
Okay.
And we'll see major improvements on this team if they can do that.
Okay. Well, I'm a little surprised that you rained on the parade this early in this podcast. I was hoping you was gonna save the defense to the end, but you went right in, man. You celebrated and then you start with the rain on the parade. But since we talking defense,
yeah,
I was talking to a coworker at work today. He's a Cowboy fan, and of course, we talked about the Cowboys game as well. And he talked about obviously how the Ravens ran on the Cowboys, and I said, well, look like we brought the Dallas defense to DC. I said, because when you consider how they were last year, their run defense and the way they were knocked out of the playoffs against Green Bay, the way they ran the ball up and down, it seems like that same system is now in DC, because teams are just running right up the middle on us. And you're right. The fact that they're running directly up the middle, where future Hall of Famer Bobby Wagner and our 2 high-priced defensive tackles are, is very shocking, right? You mentioned that, between Payne, Allen, Newton, and Fidelian Mathis, that's 2 first-rounders and 2 second-rounders.
Yep.
Right there. And I'm going to give Johnny Newton a pass because the guy had no offseason, not a lot of training camp, no preseason, everything. So this is his preseason. I mean, last week was his first true game action. Right. So I'm going to give him a little bit of a pass, because I remember saw that kid during the game where he pass rush, Burrow threw a pass. He turns around, beelines for the running back, and actually made the tackle. And he was rushing upfield prior to making this tackle.
All right.
So he's hustling and he's out there trying to do it. So I'm going to give him a pass. But the defense as a whole, I think, due to my number one concern going into this season, as I told you, was going to be the secondary or the cornerback. I told you I was worried about that. I was less worried about the old line. And as a recap, I mentioned that I felt like the offensive line they would pass enough. They would protect enough. I felt like Cliff Kingsbury would scheme enough, and Jayden's athletic ability would be enough. Okay. That would hide some of the blemishes of our old line. I was a little less worried about the old line. I was more concerned about our secondary, our corners specifically.
Right.
And boy, let me tell you, you put a rookie on Jamar Chase. You're putting our guys one-on-one. For some reason, St. Jude's cannot get his head turned around. Our secondary, and I think, because I'm reaching here trying to figure out what has happened to the defense, I guess I have to believe that the lack of lockdown ability by our corners is affecting the pass rush. The pass rush is not getting there. It's not great to begin with, but they're certainly not getting there. And our corners isn't holding it down enough to allow a pass rush to get there.
Yeah, neither is helping the other.
Neither is helping the other. And then the whole run game thing. And yeah, but I think Bobby Wagner may have lost a step, but the defensive tackles up front ain't helping him.
Right.
He's not able to come in and clean up anything. And so, all in all, I am extremely, extremely worried about our defense, man. Our defense looks awful.
Yeah.
They look awful. And once again, we have a defensive head coach, and the defense is terrible. I know they could fix everything in one offseason, but I don't expect the defense to look bad when you got a defensive coach. So, but that's all I'm gonna say.
Well,
Necessarily,
and I think defensively they made the most significant changes, right, in the offseason.
yes.
Um,
With all the free
and
agents, you mean,
through free agency and the draft, right?
and the draft.
I mean, you got Jaden Daniels, but then with the second pick, like you said, went and got Newton, and then you got,
Sanders Steele.
pardon me.
You got Sanders Steele, the rookie Mike Sanders
Yep,
Steele.
yep. You got him, and then you got Wagner in free agency, Armstrong in free agency,
Fowler in free agency, Louvu in free
Fowler.
agency.
Yep. And so you made moves, and I know they didn't go and break the bank on anybody, right? Overall, these were very C plus, B minus moves that they made, and but now it's up to the coaching staff to take those players and elevate their play level. Again, maybe it'll start to gel and get better, but yeah, that run defense needs to it needs to tighten up. It needs to tighten up.
Yeah.
And it's funny because they'll have 2 or 3 good plays, then all of a sudden they just bust one, and and then even yesterday, I think on a lot of the running plays, it was you had them, you got them in your hand, just hold on to them. Where was that, or that second person come along because they broke away where they had a yard loss, a 2-yard loss, or 0 gain, and all of a sudden somehow they broke away and picked up 3 or 4 yards several times.
Until they can prove that they're getting a handle on this rush defense, teams are going to continue to do it.
Yes.
Yeah, they're going to have to do something, and I believe Joe Witt will make some adjustments. I mean, we've already seen just from week to week they've cleaned up some things. The tackling was a lot better last night, but they gave up 2 big plays, single coverage on Jamar Chase. I don't know what that was about.
Well, the first one, the safety was supposed to get over there, but it was just, I mean, sometimes you got to give the other team credit. The safety was flying to get over there. He just couldn't get over there in time. And it's Jamar Chase,
Yeah.
But those are my really only concerns about the game. If I want to flip back over to the positive side and talk a little bit more about our rookie, Jaden Daniels was 21 of 23, 254 yards. Through his not one. I mean, he hadn't thrown a TD, but then he didn't throw one, but he threw 2 touchdowns, ran for another. And if you went to Vegas and bet on who would catch his first touchdown, I don't know what the odds would have been, but you would be one rich person if you would have gotten this right. Because nobody other than Trent Scott's mama was going to put any money that an eligible tackle it was the one that caught his very first touchdown.
Yeah, and that was cool to see, man. That's a little bit of that creativity, the little razzle dazzle that we talked about from our offense, man. That I don't recall watching ever in recent memory. Just tell me if I'm wrong, Ken. Have we ever under any regime had a pass where we even tried to throw it to a tackle?
Yeah.
I mean,
no, I agree.
Right. So here in Washington doing something that other teams do around the league. And so we did it. And man, it was at a perfect time.
Yeah, it was an awkward catch.
Wide open.
What's that?
He's wide open.
He was wide open. But when he caught it, it was like, it was almost like you throw a pass to your sister, and the way that she catches it was the way that it looked.
He
but
gutted it. It was all
but
gut.
yeah, gutted it and held on to it. And I'm sure he had a little bit of butterflies of, don't drop this, don't drop this, don't drop this.
Oh, they talked to him after the game. He said he had a ton of butterfly. He said they worked on it before. He said once they called the play, he said he was extremely nervous. And his whole point was, do not drop this ball.
Right.
And then apparently there was some talking back and forth between Trent Scott, who's the tackle that caught the pass, and the guard Allegretti, who had caught a pass apparently during his playing time in Kansas City. And the joke between them was about who ran the better route, who ran the better route
Yeah.
as a lineman, right? So they had some good fun with it, man.
Right.
But it was good to see. But yeah, Jayden Daniels not only passed for 2 touchdowns, but he ran 12 times for 39 yards, and 1 rushing touchdown.
Right.
And although I'm not a big fan of watching Jayden rush the ball, it's a part of his game, and I'm going to have to get used to that. I do remember sitting there thinking when I saw it, when he ran that ball in, it was like the perfect time to call that RPO in that moment of the game because it worked to perfection. When he ran that ball,
there was nobody within arm's reach of him.
There was nobody because the way we had been running the ball, Cincinnati was crashing hard and just knew that where we were at a 1st and goal, it was going to be to the running back, and they crashed hard. And when Jayden pulled that out and he literally just walked right in.
Yep.
And so that was great to see the way they did that. You were going to mention earlier that Cincinnati gets the ball. We clearly won the toss and elected to receive the second half, the kickoff, and Cincinnati goes down the field and scores right away. And they didn't just score right away. They scored with their Pro Bowl receiver on our rookie and just flat out beat him in a one-on-one.
Pro Bowl quarterback to the Pro Bowl receiver, right. and they've been struggling the first couple of weeks.
Right.
And
he hadn't caught a touchdown yet.
And we may have caught them at the wrong time.
And I immediately was thinking, oh my God. And Washington gets the ball.
You weren't the only fan. You weren't the only fan.
I think everybody was like, oh man, here we go, right? And of course, Washington gets the ball back, and Jayden Daniels and that offense, man, drives the field and came back with an answer just like that.
Yes.
And
nice drive.
Yeah, it was a very nice. It wasn't just even a quick drive. It took some time off the clock, which we all felt like we needed to do a little ball control. And we go down and we answer. We tie the game up right away. And unbeknownst to us, it was the beginning of what was going to be a wonderful night, right?
Yeah.
In Cincinnati. So, with that, man, let's get into some of Jayden's stats.
Okay. Go ahead, because and I will say, week 2 and week 3, the way Washington has played, it has a lot of anomalies that you don't hear. Some are the first time ever in the NFL. Some are, the best of this person or the best of that person. But 2 weeks, it's almost like, just hold on and get ready for the next stat because there's a lot of them. But go ahead with what you got there starting out.
So no, what I was going to say is the couple things that stood out for my man JD, man. Number five. A very, very interesting stat of his is for 2 consecutive weeks, he has led 2 game-winning drives. Now, granted, week 2, it was a game-winning drive that led to the game-winning field goal. But this was, we get the ball last. We need this. We need to go down and score. He drives the team down. They kick a field goal, win the game. And then, of course, last night, Cincinnati is within 1 score. The momentum had shifted. They were now trying to go down. The defense was trying to stop. They wanted to get the ball back. And this is a situation we need to go down and score. And there was some 4th down conversions, some 3rd down conversions on this drive that led to the nice 27-yard touchdown pass to my guy Terry McLaurin, man. And if you're watching us online, you're seeing some of these pictures scroll through, and man, he dropped that ball. He dropped a dime.
Yes,
it was a 27-yard touchdown pass in the records books, but they said the ball traveled 45 yards, and he
and
dropped
he
that
got
in there, man.
smacked. Jaden got smacked as he threw
Yes.
that ball.
Yeah, it was a cover zero, and then they did a blitz, and he just chunked it up, and he stood in there. And to Green's point, man, he got rocked. He got rocked pretty good, and as you can see, it was a nice catch by Terry, and that pretty much sealed the game.
Yeah,
That pretty much sealed the game. And we have to realize that there was also a good return that also led to us getting some great field position here. But it was good, man. So hats off to JD uh, for the young rookie to be in a situation that led to game-winning drives in consecutive weeks. This was also he was in some great company here where the stat, and if you watch the game, you saw a lot of this. They talked about this. He had the second highest completion percentage through the first 3 games. Breeze is at 80.6, JD's at 80.3, and then Tom Brady's at 79.5, right? He set the highest single game completion percentage by a rookie. He's sitting at 91.3, Dak is at 88.9, and then Gardner Minshew at 88%. And the one that makes me a little nervous is the one that he is through 3 weeks is leading the league by quarterbacks to run for first downs. He was trailing, then tied with Lamar Jackson, and then as of last night, during last night's game performance, he ran for a couple first down, and he surpassed Lamar Jackson through 3 games by leading the league quarterback runs the first down. And what's great about that is this is athleticism, and that athleticism is what allowing teams to have to worry about the pass, but also the run. And so when it's 3rd and short, we don't have the tush push, but we have a guy who can quickly run and get you 1 or 2 yards due to his speed and athleticism. So those are some of the stats I like to report and take away from JD's magical performance last night.
Yeah. And I think I saw yesterday. Now, there was a couple times where he had to take the hit to get the first down, but when he didn't have to, he would step out of bounds a couple times. He slid the one time. I think the coaches are in his head, and it's starting to click. Okay, once I get the first down, you know, I don't need to suffer any pain at all
Right.
for any additional yards once I get it. If I can run for another 20 yards, that's fine. But when I'm about to take that hit, you just step out of bounds, right? You picked up the first. What is it? It doesn't make any sense to pick up 10 more yards past the first and take a hit when you can make 6 more yards past the first and no hit, right? That's going to extend your career. And it extending your career period, and then any kind of freak hits of taking you out of the game. And I would say, you commented on it about how back-to-back weeks he's basically done game-winning or game-sealing drives. He's a rookie. The NFL is not too big for Jaden Daniels.
Correct.
Right? We'll see how much success he has, but the NFL is not too big. He looks the same in the middle of the first quarter as he does in the fourth. If anything, he's even more hyper focused in the fourth. And we heard all about the time that he put into studying film and getting in there and working with the guys and everything. And you hear this. I'm sure in New England they heard it about their quarterback. They heard it in Denver about their quarterback. You hear it about all these quarterbacks, but I don't know. One, I don't know that it's always true, and number two, that it pays off, keeps him grinding, keeps him working harder and harder. It's just like anything else. If you go to the gym and you bust your butt and you don't lose a pound, you might go, man, what am I doing all this pain for? But you start losing a pound or 2 or 4, and you're like, all right, I don't feel like going to the gym today, but I'm going in. It's any kind of struggles in life. And I like to see it for the guy. He seems like a good kid from the minute we drafted him. All of his press conferences, he talks about the work that he puts in, but he talks about the whole team. It's not a me. I like what the kid is about up to this point, without a doubt.
Yeah, absolutely, man. One other thing about that game is that's something that we as fans can hang our hats on and be excited about. In these last 2 games, right? The 2 games where we got our 2 W's, Washington has scored on 14 consecutive drives, not including the kneel down, but 14 consecutive drives. You joked earlier about not seeing Tress Way and that he's stealing money. Our punter has not been on the field for two consecutive games because our drives have all ended in scores.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And that is a crazy thing. I touched on it a little bit earlier about how I was not as concerned about our O-line. And man, let's give our O-line a little bit of love, right?
Yeah.
Those guys are out there, and granted, have they missed some blocks and some things? Of course they have, right? I mean, that's why Jayden is out here escaping the pocket. But there are times when he has needed them to stand there and buy him some time. Pass to Terry, right? Comes to mind. Standing there on some third down conversion where he threw the ball to Luke McCaffrey or to Zach Ertz, right? The O-line is giving him some time in moments where it's not like we've seen this floodgate where Sam Howell was leading the league in sacks, right? We're not seeing some of these things. And again, I think it's a little bit of both. Jayden's getting rid of the ball, his athleticism, not leading the sacks, but also the O-line is also playing a little bit better. Yeah. We have to remind ourselves, these guys didn't play together during the preseason. So now they're in their 3rd week of trying to gel together as a new unit. I thought another interesting stat from the game last night, which as the game was happening, I was like, this is kind of a game is flowing pretty good. And I didn't realize, but it wasn't a lot of penalties in that game last night. But the thing that stood out that they said that since 1940, this is long before me and Ken was born. We know we're some old heads, but this is still long before Ken and I was born. But this is the first game where there was no punts and no turnovers by either team in an NFL game.
Right.
And, like they talked about, you may have one team with no turnovers and one team may have 1 or 2.
Right.
But since 1940, no game has ever featured 2 teams with no points. No turnovers and no punts. So,
and they weren't keeping stats on that prior to 1940. So this may be the first time ever, even when you're talking about, the 30s and the 20s and the early beginnings of the NFL may have never happened, but they weren't keeping stats like that. I mean, go back to the week of the Giants. The Giants only punted 1 time, right? So, so you're talking in 2 full games, both teams 1 punt. That's just kind of unheard of. And going back to Jayden Daniels, just touching on him real quick. No turnovers so far this year, right?
Don't jinx it, Ken. Come on.
What's that?
Don't jinx it, man.
I'm not jinxing. I'm pointing it out. But it hasn't been any no fumbles. And a lot of times for a quarterback, an interception will be off of somebody's hands and it bounces and somebody catches it. The defense will catch it. But it hasn't been any what I call kind of a fluke type of interception. But Jayden Daniels had very few in college his last 2 years. I think at LSU, I think he was like, is off the top of my head, but he was like 29 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. And you probably count on 1 or 2 of those of being one of those fluke off of somebody's hands for an interception. So he's not a guy who throws a lot of interceptions period. It's not his style, and obviously his accuracy is there. That's one of the things that I really liked when I started looking at him coming to DC and drafting. I just saw every single year he got better and better and better, and now he's not putting up the yards that he did at LSU, but his completion percentage is even better in the NFL than it was at LSU. So it just shows he's growing and playing within himself,
Yeah. Yeah. It was great, man. It was wonderful. It was fun. And somebody mentioned something, man. If this thing ends up being what a lot of us hope that it will be, it's be a lot of the primetime games, Ken. Whether it's Sunday night, Thursday night, Monday night. It's gonna be a lot of late nights, and I don't know if I'm ready for that. But right now,
yeah,
today, week 3, we were able to cap it off, man, with a very wonderful and glorious game. Very exciting, and I'm excited about it, man. So if they can take this momentum into week 4 against Arizona on the road and win that and be 3 and oh man, whoo, boy, boy,
it'll just grow from there, right?
Because right now we're in first place, Ken. We're still in
I
first
know,
place.
I know.
And
We were in first place last week, right? Even at
and look,
1-1.
we were, but this week though, the people in first place have gotten a little less crowded. It was crowded. It was crowded last week.
It was.
It's a little less crowded in first place this week.
And the more wins you get, the less crowded it tends to be. So hopefully we'll be moving on to Arizona and carrying this play offensively. We've had good play 2 weeks in a row. Let's turn this into a season long of steady, solid offensive play. Defense tightens it up just a little bit, a little bit. And it's
because I don't
could
like
turn
this
into
being
something special season. I'm not saying by any means that we're there, but after games like Cincinnati, and you won the previous week, and the way that you're playing, you're like, this could be. It could be. We're not there yet. We're not even going to try and say this is one of those seasons, but give us another 2 or 3 games, and we'll be win or lose. We'll be able to. I think we'll be better able to answer that.
Let's go, baby.
Let's go.
So, but that's all I got, man. We got Triumphant Tuesday, also known for us as Victory Monday, man. So I will take it. I appreciate it. Thank you guys all for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting. And we will continue. We will be back for another podcast later this week as we preview the Commanders against the Arizona Cardinals. So until next time, y'all, peace out.
Peace out, knuckleheads.